Hey there, this is Jackson with Crunchy Red Fruit, and we're here to talk about our July 2022 release. This is a release that we're calling Amplified, and it's our joy and hope to amplify voices other than mine. This release is about amplifying the voices of women who are winemakers, enologists, who are instrumental in bringing wines to the forefront. And we honor the work of women who came before and the work that they've laid out and the incredible wine industry they've created. It's not just something that's created by men. It is something that we are grateful to be a part of. That Gretchen, my wife, she may not be a sommelier, she may not be a winemaker, but she does so much at Crunchy Red Fruit. Without her, we would not exist. I'm super grateful for her and super grateful to be able to feature these wines from a host of super talented women around the world. Let's talk about it. These 6 wines that we're going to taste, and let's get into it. The first one is a Cocharon Blanc. This comes from La Font du Loup, which means literally the Fountain of the Wolves, and it's in the Rhone Valley in the Châteauneuf-du-Pape region. It's made by Anne Charlotte Melia-Bechat, and she is a talented winemaker who took over the reins from her dad and has turned her winery into something really special. This is a blend of Grenache Blanc, Viognier, and Claret, and all three of those grapes rather have a lot of bitterness, even despite their rich, ripe fruit from being grown in a warm climate. Wonderful texture, slight bitterness, feels like rolling a peach pit around your mouth. It's just so cool. And it's also really floral because of that Viognier. I think it's a wonderful pairing for stews, something like bouillabaisse, or anything you might find in southern France, cassoulet, maybe doing like a summer cassoulet in a lighter style. This next wine is from Margins. Margins is a winery run by Megan Bell, who kind of bounced around some awesome California wineries and cut her teeth at some bigger places and some smaller places. But she's someone who cares deeply about organic viticulture. And in fact, this Clarksburg Chenin Blanc that is done with some skin contact, she convinced the owner of this vineyard to convert to organics. And I think it's been now a couple of years that this vineyard has been completely organic. We're drinking the 2021 vintage of it. It's got a touch of skin contact, but you can see it's not an orange wine where it would be a much darker color. It's a little turbid, it's a little cloudy from some skin contact with Chenin Blanc, but it's not like an orange wine or a rosé. This one is so cool. It has a very pulpy fruit quality, so it reminds me a little bit of like biting into a very ripe green or yellow pear, where it just has that kind of mouth-coating, intense quality to it. The fruit here is just so cool, and it finishes with a chalkiness of texture, and that's part of that is skin contact, and part of that is also just Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc's a very fuzzy textured grape that coats your palate and gives you a lot. That one's going to be a really cool pairing with anything from a simple fish dish to salmon to even doing it with burgers would be an awesome pairing. Okay, now let's talk about the Wave Blaster. And I can't help but laugh when I look at this label because it's so ridiculous, but it's awesome. And this one's made by Alex and Veronica Neely. Alex is a main winemaker, but Veronica is the, as she put it via text with me today, the chief Alex Wrangler. So she has a lot to do with this wine becoming what it is, and this wine getting its way to you. This is made from Lagrein and Scheurebe, 2 really obscure grapes. One of them is from northern Italy, and Scheurebe is the one from Germany. Both very floral. The Lagrein is a very deep colored rosé or dark red kind of color. What they had was 2 tanks separated. They had Lagrein and Scheurebe sitting, and they combined them and created this. They said it's like fruit punch. They said it's like riding a jet ski naked. They said that it's something that'll make you scream out loud like the Kool-Aid Man and burst through a wall. I would agree with all that. It's great. I also just think the wine's pure deliciousness, and I just cannot spit it out. So I'm going to drink it because it just has that effect on you. It does taste very fruit punchy. This is not something to think very seriously about, and you can tell that that's their goal with the label, the very Lisa Frank label. So really, don't listen to me, don't listen to them, just drink the wine and have fun and let it take you somewhere. All right, another wine in the same vein as the Margins and the Libertine. These are kind of some wines that I didn't know that we were going to be able to get quantity of for the club release, but they were able to bring us extra in just to cover our club selections, which I'm really excited about. This is Domingo Binet. This is made by Emmeline Calvez and Sébastien Bobinet. They both have sommelier and restaurant backgrounds, but found their way into winemaking after kind of absorbing it through restaurants and just finding a real passion for it. So this is Cabernet Franc coming from the Loire Valley in France, and this is their cuvée called Hanami. I think this wine is so juicy and so profoundly garden-like. And as I talk about this, I'm sitting in the middle of my property and I'm underneath a huge red cedar tree with lots of smell of cedar bark coming at me, and I'm near some blueberry bushes and a grapevine and a bunch of herbs. And for some reason, this wine just kind of takes me home. It reminds me a little bit of my property, and I happen to be tasting this wine while I'm here, but it really has that woodsy, walk through a garden type of sensation to it. It's really special. Cabernet Franc can be a little abrasive, but this one is made in a very cheerful, very forward, easy drinking style. So while it does have all those herbal and barky and earthy notes, it also just has this wonderful, approachable, light fruitiness that I think you'll really enjoy. It's very tangy and just has a lot of personality. So check that out. Next, we're going to go to Italy. This is a wine called Yantra, and it's made by Elena Pozzolini, coming from Tuscany. And this is coastal Tuscany. They call it Toscana Marittima, or maritime / coastal Tuscany. And this is a blend of Cabernet and Merlot. Now, a lot of people think that these French grapes have been recent introductions to Italy. They're not. A lot of them have been there for 100 or sometimes 200 years. Because if you think about Europe and all the trade that was happening and all the people that were going around and bringing samples of this and that and cuttings of this and that grapevine around, a lot of French grapes have been in Italy for hundreds of years. Same thing with some Italian grapes in France. This I like because it's not a traditionally big, structured, oaky type of coastal Tuscan wine. It does taste like a super Tuscan. It is firm, it is big and powerful, but it doesn't have a ton of oak, and it doesn't have a ton of extraction to where it's like almost sappy and raisiny. It's very drinkable. It's really firm and full-bodied without being like cloying or overpowering on your palate. And that's what I like about this, and the work that Elena is doing at Tenuta Sette Cieli, which is the name of this winery. I think it's awesome. This is definitely the fullest bodied wine in this box, but you're gonna love it. I would highly suggest doing Yantra with some steak. Okay, this wine is made by our friends Kate Norris and Tom Monroe at their winery called Division Wine Company. Division is based in Oregon. They were in Portland, and now they're in the Willamette Valley, where they have their own winemaking facility, and they've now been at it almost 10 years and just making beautiful wines. Their style is very elegant, it's very fresh, and it's also focused on very low intervention winemaking. Everything you see here is farmed organically, and some of these, like the Bobinet or the Clarksburg Chenin Blanc or the Libertine, are made with just the tiniest amount of sulfur at bottling or right before. So what you're seeing is winemakers that are really trying to keep any sort of chemical, let alone a maybe little tiny bit of naturally occurring sulfur, out of their wines. And that's what I love about what Tom and Kate are doing too. We are seeing this really elegant, silky, low intervention style come to the forefront in Willamette. This is a blend of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, 75-25, and it was in the 2020 vintage. So it had a little bit of smoke quality to it because that vintage was affected pretty deeply by smoke. They harvested early enough and were able to avoid it in most of this cuvee, but there is a touch of it here. What you'll see though is that this wine does not taste overtly smoky. You'll get a tiny bit of it, and power of suggestion will help you notice it more on the finish since I'm talking to you about it. But otherwise, this is just a gorgeous wine. It's got a lot to offer. It's a lot of red fruit and cherry, and that Chardonnay brings this wonderful kind of buttery texture to round out the Pinot Noir. So much more than any kind of idea of smoke is just the fact that Willamette Valley terroir and Willamette Valley Pinot Noir fruit come out so beautifully on this wine. And this is not a wine I would lay down for 20 years. Maybe it'd be good, and I'm sure it could be, but what I love right now is just how approachable and delightful it is. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the circle. Thanks for trying these wines and letting us elevate other voices. That's the hope, is in the future we'll elevate other voices and get me off the channel more so other people can come to the forefront and tell their stories. And we're going to be doing some Instagram lives with these winemakers. Please tune in, check it out. We're going to be doing them on Instagram. We'll be doing some things on Facebook too. But again, thank you for trying these wines and being part of the circle. Cheers.